Hello and welcome. I am Pranay Upadhyay and you are watching Namaste World, your daily window into the biggest stories shaping India and the world. We begin in Middle East. As the perception game intensifies following the Tejas jet crash at Dubai Airshow, will the global marketplace accept India's indigenous fighter planes? In South Asia, Rajnath Singh Sindh remark has reignited a fierce India-Pakistan debate, turning history, identity and geopolitics into fresh flashpoints. Back in America, record crowds hit Black Friday, but shrinking deals and rising prices have Americans spending less than ever before. But the biggest news of the day, Pakistan launched deadly overnight strikes inside Afghanistan, killing civilians as tensions with the Taliban regime surged dangerously once again. All that and more. Global flashpoints, power plays and the stories that matter coming up in this edition of Namaste World. Tensions between Pakistan and Afghanistan have flared once again after the Taliban government accused Islamabad of launching deadly overnight airstrikes on Afghan soil. Kabul says that attacks killed at least 10 civilians, including 9 children and 1 woman, in Khost, Kunar and Paktika provinces. The Taliban called it a blatant violation of sovereignty, a crime that demands a response, and warned retaliation will come when they choose. The strike came just hours after a suicide bombing at Pakistan's Federal Constabulary headquarters in Peshawar that killed 3 officers and wounded several others. Islamabad has not commented on airstrikes but continues to blame Afghan-based militants, especially Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, for a wave of attacks inside Pakistan, including last week's blast in the capital that claimed 12 lives. A fragile ceasefire is now on the brink. Trade remains suspended, talks are stalled, and both sides accuse the other of sheltering terrorists. Question remains, are Pakistan and Afghanistan sliding into a dangerous new cycle of conflict? We'll keep you updated as this story develops. India's Tejas fighter jet, long hailed as the crown jewel of country's indigenous defence ambitions, has suffered a devastating blow after a crash during a high-profile Dubai Airshow, killing a senior pilot and raising fresh doubts over the program's future. With rivals watching and buyers reconsidering, will the global market accept India's indigenous fighter planes? Here is a report by Shaurik Saha.
India's Tejas fighter jet, the pride of the country's homegrown defence program, has suffered a major setback on one of the world's biggest stages. At the Dubai Airshow, with global arms buyers watching, a Tejas crashed during a flight display, killing Wing Commander Namaste and delivering a blow to India's showcase fighter. The cause is still under investigation, but the impact is already being felt. Experts say the imagery is brutal. Airshows are meant to project power, precision, and national capability. A crash sends the opposite message, and for the jet that took decades to develop, this moment will sting, especially with India's rival Pakistan watching closely from the same venue. The Tejas program began in the 1980s to replace India's aging MiG-21 fleet, but delays, engine issues and production bottlenecks have slowed the fighter's rollout. HAL, the state-owned manufacturer, has 180 Tejas Mark 1A jets on order, but hasn't started deliveries yet, partly due to supply chain problems with GE engines. With India's fighter squadrons shrinking from the sanctioned 42 to just 29, the Air Force is scrambling. Tejas was supposed to fill the gap. Instead, India is now weighing emergency purchases, more Rafales from France, or even the F-35 and Russia's Su-57, both showcased in Dubai. Export hopes for Tejas may also take a hit. Target customers in Asia, Africa and Latin America will hesitate after a public crash. HAL had even opened an office in Malaysia last year, but analysts say the long-term value of Tejas goes beyond sales. It has created an industrial and technological base that India needs for future fighters, including next-generation stealth jets. Meanwhile, regional rivalry played out unmissably at Dubai. While India showcased Tejas, Pakistan flaunted its Chinese-made JF-17 Block 3 and even announced a new export deal with a friendly country. And in an ironic twist, the very missile displayed next to the JF-17, the Chinese PL-15E, is the same family of weapons US and Indian officials say shot down a Rafale during last year's air battle. The Tejas wasn't used in that clash, neither did it appear in India's Republic Day flypast this year due to safety concerns about single-engine jets. So the question now is simple and urgent. Can India's flagship fighter recover its momentum, or has the Dubai crash reset the story of Tejas at the worst possible moment? With Shaurik Shah, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
A single remark by Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has thrust Sindh back into the center of India-Pakistan debate, reviving historical memories, provoking a sharp reaction from Islamabad and stirring emotions among Sindhi community on both sides of the border. But in an already tense climate, could one statement reshape a decade-old geopolitical fault line? Here is a report by Farhan Khan.
If you have been wondering why Sindh suddenly exploded into the India-Pakistan conversation again, it's because Defence Minister Rajnath Singh dropped a line that's now echoing loudly across the subcontinent. Speaking at a Sindhi community event in New Delhi, he said that borders can change and that Sindh might one day return to India. He credited this idea to senior BJP leader LK Advani, who was born in Sindh before partition.
आज सिंध की भूमि, मेरे बहनों भाइयों, यह भारत का हिस्सा भले ही न हो, लेकिन सभ्यतागत रूप से सिंध हमेशा भारत का हिस्सा रहेगा। और जहां तक जमीन की बात है, तो बॉर्डर्स तो बदल सकते हैं, क्या पता कल को सिंध भारत में फिर से वापस आ जाए।
Now, in any other context, this would sound like nostalgia. But in today's climate, with tensions sky high after India's Operation Sindoor, launched in response to the Pahalgam terror attack, Islamabad was never going to take this lightly. Pakistan immediately condemned the remark as delusional, dangerous and revisionist. And just like that, the debate over Sindh's history and identity was back in the spotlight. So how did Sindh become part of Pakistan? And why does India still feel a deep cultural connection to it? Sindh today is one of Pakistan's most important provinces. Karachi, its capital, is Pakistan's financial hub. Historically though, Sindh sits at the heart of the Indus Valley civilization. Mohenjo-daro, Amre, Kot Diji, some of the oldest urban settlements in human history. For millennia, Sindh has been ruled by everyone from the Persians and Greeks to the Mauryas, Scythians, Mughals, and finally the British. And at its center is the Indus River, a waterway worshipped by generations of Hindus and respected by Muslims alike. The link with India isn't just historical, it's civilizational. Rajnath Singh reminded the audience that many Sindhi Hindus, especially those like LK Advani who migrated during partition, still consider Sindh their homeland. The emotional bond never really broke. In 1930, All India Muslim League leader Muhammad Iqbal proposed that Muslim-majority regions, including Sindh, should form a separate nation. Sindh had already pushed for administrative autonomy, breaking away from the Bombay province in 1936. By 1943, its provincial assembly became the first to formally endorse the creation of Pakistan. So when British India was partitioned in 1947, Sindh joined Pakistan and saw major demographic shifts. Hindu traders and families in cities like Karachi were attacked, looted or intimidated. With violence spreading, nearly 1 million Sindhi Hindus fled to India, starting from scratch in refugee camps across Bombay, Pune, Ahmedabad and Ajmer. Their story of rebuilding remains one of the lesser told chapters of partition. Meanwhile, Sindh itself became part of West Pakistan from 1955 to 1970 before being re-established as a separate province. Fast forward to today, and Rajnath Singh's remarks have been welcomed by some Sindhi nationalist leaders in Pakistan itself. Shahi Barfat of the GI Sindh Muttahida Mahaz praised India's statement as a ray of hope. He accused Pakistan's Punjabi-dominated establishment of exploiting Sindh's resources, altering the province's demographics and violently suppressing Sindhi political movements. Barfat argues that Sindh's cultural and historical ties have always been with India, not with the Arab Islamic identity imposed by Pakistan. Pakistan, however, sees things very differently. Islamabad called Rajnath's comments an expansionist Hindutva fantasy and warned India against statements that could destabilize the region. This comes on top of earlier controversies where Rajnath hinted that any Pakistani misadventure near Sir Creek would lead to changes in history and geography. So where does this leave the debate? Rajnath's remarks tap into a deep civilizational narrative, one shared by generations of Sindhi Hindus who were uprooted during partition. But the political reaction underscores the reality. Sindh's identity is not just cultural, it's geopolitical. With India-Pakistan relations at their lowest point in years, even historical references can quickly turn into diplomatic flashpoints. And for now, Sindh remains what it has been for decades, a symbol of shared history, contested memory, and a reminder of just how fragile the India-Pakistan relationship really is. With Farhan Khan, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
Record-breaking crowds are hitting stores this Black Friday. But instead of splurging, Americans are tightening their wallets as prices rise, deals shrink, and retailers pull back on the deep discounts shoppers once encountered on. With saving untouched and essentials taking priority, the big questions this year is that what to buy and what not to buy, whether to buy at all. Here is a report by Dibangana Datta.
Black Friday, the day after Thanksgiving when Americans flood stores for massive holiday shopping deals. It's called Black Friday because it's when retailers finally move from red ink to black, from losses to profits. But 2025? Record crowds, fewer deals. This is Black Friday with a twist. Nearly 187 million Americans are hitting the stores this weekend, the biggest turnout ever for the Thanksgiving to Cyber Monday stretch. But here's the twist. They are spending less. One New York shopper puts it simply. Everything seems to be way more expensive. Last year, $500 on gifts. This year, cutting that to $300. But she's not alone. One shopper in Idaho spent $2,000 on holiday shopping last year. This year, $750. The reason? Healthcare premiums are about to skyrocket. Electronics and big ticket items? Off the list. Just shoes, books and kitchenware now. Here's the thing about Black Friday. It's built on one promise. Unbeatable deals. Doorbusters. The kind of discounts that make camping outside stores at midnight feel worth it. But this year, that promise is breaking. Retailers are pulling back. That toaster that used to cost $5 after rebates and coupons, now it's 10. Brand consultant Jessica Ramirez said promotions are fewer, shorter and less predictable. Quote, when promotions do show up, they're spot promotions. They don't last long. Retailers know what's happening. Walmart, Amazon and Macy's launched deals weeks early, trying to lock in sales before shoppers change their minds. Walmart's Black Friday started on November 14th. Amazon kicked off its deals last Thursday. Here's what's wild. Americans actually have money in the bank. Household deposits are higher than before the pandemic. But people aren't touching those savings. They're holding back, being cautious, prioritizing essentials. The National Retail Federation calls it sentimentally weak and fundamentally sound. Translation: we can spend, we just don't want to. Sales are still expected to break $1 trillion for the first time ever. But growth is slowing, down from nearly 5% last year to around 4% this year. Black Friday was supposed to be the shopping event of the year. The day when deals were so good you couldn't afford not to buy. But in 2025, It's about finding any deal worth taking. Shoppers stretching dollars further while retailers stretch promotions thinner. Record crowds, tighter wallets, higher prices. That's not just Black Friday, that's America right now. Happy shopping. With Devangna Datta, Bureau Report, India Today Global.
As we wrap up today's show, here is a quick look at the top stories making waves around the world. Russia and Ukraine exchange deadly overnight drone strikes as US officials prepare to meet Russian representatives in Abu Dhabi for a new peace plan negotiations. China successfully launches the first emergency space mission to restore safety at the Tiangpong station after the debris cracked a return capsule window earlier this month. Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi says the President Donald Trump assured her of strong ties as tensions with China surge over her Taiwan remarks. The EU top court has ruled that member states must recognize same-sex marriage legally performed elsewhere in the bloc, rebuking Poland for refusing recognition. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of Namaste World. From breakthrough in technology and business to political developments and natural disasters. Stay tuned as we bring you the latest updates, key developments and more from New Delhi to New York. See you again tomorrow at the same time right here on Namaste World.